Let's get to Trey Flowers, who talked about an illness he dealt with last year. And it's kind of one of those situations that, like Chris Lofton, you kind of feel bad for questioning him after when he shares this fact. Trey Flowers said on his Instagram account, I guess it's time to update the world on what I've been going through. These past months have been some of the hardest of my life. I was diagnosed with something called myositis. Myositis, in shorter words, is weakness and inflammation in the muscles in the body. And basically, my body was fighting against itself. Sounds like an autoimmune disease. This disease attacked my body so fast, I didn't understand why I was feeling the way I was. I played my last football season, not even knowing I was dealing with. I knew something wasn't right because I didn't feel like the player I know I am, but I continued to push through. It took months just to figure out what was going on. I had zero answers. The good news, he states, after I found out what was going on, I started my treatment ASAP. During my treatment, which I started back in February, I was unable to do any extraneous workouts, no senior bowls, no pro day. Good news is I was recently cleared to start working out again. I know God has the last say. So my head high, and I'll forever stand on 10. So you were one of the ones, Caleb, that I thought was the most optimistic and positive about Trey Flowers in particular. And you said he probably covers up for a lot of mistakes. So kudos to you for pointing that out when it was easy just to say, oh, the defensive backs are terrible. That was the easy way to say it. My heart breaks for the young man because it's such an important season, much like Chris Lofton, who played with testicular cancer in his final year. And everybody wondered what was wrong with Chris Lofton, that's just not Chris. And then we figured out when he shared the information of the cancer diagnosis that occurred during his senior season. So what's your take on this Trey Flowers situation? Since you've been high on him, it makes me wonder if you think that in a year or two, he might be a solid NFL player after he's been healthy for a while. Your thoughts, Taylor?
Yeah, I think this is just bad break after bad break for Trey Flowers with his career. I got to be honest. For those of you who don't know, Trey Flowers, by all accounts, would have been a 4-star very clearly and flirted with the 5-star when he was being recruited. But he had committed to play baseball first. And because he didn't take part in a lot of the rivals camps and things like that in his junior year, by the time he was ready to fully focus on football, it held back his star ratings. And Dave, you know this covering recruiting. You don't take part in those camps. That really hurts your ratings when you're trying to get noticed by a lot of people.
Absolutely. It can be the difference between 4 scholarship offers and 14, 15, 16 scholarship offers. I'll give you an example. This was shared to me in confidence, but there is a former Tennessee player whose son has been told by Notre Dame and Michigan, because he is in East Tennessee, he's been told that if Tennessee offers, then we'll immediately offer. So maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I say that to say sometimes one team can cause 8 different offers to come. And there's no question in my mind that if Trey Flowers had been in those workouts, he would have gotten that one offer that could lead to 6 or 8. No question. You're absolutely right about how recruiting works in those summer workouts.
Yeah. And so he took 1 year longer than he should have to decide to play football, which he should have the right to do. It's crazy that kids shouldn't have the right to be able to, should have to make that commitment before they're ready. But he commits to football, goes to Tennessee because Jeremy Pruitt, great evaluator of talent, scouts him as a 3-star, immediately steps in as a starting safety. Second year on an interception as the full-time starter, his second year breaks his leg on an interception against Mississippi State. Comes back, gets his body back into shape, is, I thought, very good in 2021. Struggled in 2020 as he was getting back. And then last year, with Alontae Taylor gone, is having to cover for so many deficiencies in the secondary. I still thought it had NFL potential. And then we realized this story where he was playing with myositis. Now I'm like, wow, if he didn't have this, he could have been way better, because if I'm seeing it, other scouts are seeing it. Other scouts are seeing that he's covering for so many other deficiencies despite how bad the defense is. I know that much. And I'd been wondering why he didn't at least didn't warrant a look at Pro Day, at the Combine, or at any of these Senior Bowl things or whatever, and now we're seeing why, because he couldn't. And it's just it's just the worst timing with him. I feel so awful for him, but I'm so glad this is out there. I'm so glad that he's able to continue his workout and playing career now. I think there is a spot for Trey Flowers on some roster. I was always a huge fan of him last year, and I still think Tennessee's going to miss him this year.
Okay, so I want to ask you that. You do think that there's a spot on the roster. Can he be a starter? First, I want to tell you about AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Best service, best prices in the biz. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Over 40 years of combined experience in his office. He's phenomenal. Getting ready to make a real estate move. AndyMasonRealEstate.com is where I will go. So, Trey Flowers, let me ask you this. Will he be a starter, or will he be roster, starter, Pro Bowl, All-Pro? 4 levels.
Roster. I don't see starter, Pro Bowl, or All-Pro, but I do see a roster guy. I see a roster guy.
If he's 100% healthy, I'm not going to rule out starter. Now, he has to fall in the right situation like everybody does, but I won't rule it out. I will say that I agree with you. However, I think it's going to be roster. Be sure and hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't to this point, and turn your notifications on before we get to another topic. We got Joe Milton talking some trash in a little bit, and somebody on the message board said, how did Lane Kiffin come up? Well, it came up because of this. He's joking, and I ask you, who should be Tennessee's cover figure on an let's say a UT 2K24 game, because Kobe Bryant, the late Kobe Bryant, is going to be on the NBA 2K24 game. So if you are able to tell me who my pick is at the end of the show, then I will hook you up with an off the hook sports shirt. And
well, if it's Kiffin, let's just go all in and do Lane Kiffin, Bruce Pearl, and Donnie Tyndall, man. Let's get them all. Let's just
be a heck of a shirt, wouldn't it?
It would. I mean, it's you, Dave. You had the greatest, you got to cover a year where Tennessee had Pat Summitt, Lane Kiffin, and Bruce Pearl. All 3 of those guys were at the same school for a year. I still look back, I'm like, that's incredible.
Yeah, and I said to myself at the time, I said, this is good stuff, and it's not going to continue. Both the success and the sensational nature of the program. And sure enough, it didn't. And it got bad. Now, I didn't think it was going to get that bad of the decade of dysfunction, as Mark Nagy calls it. But no, that was a pretty special year. Pat Summitt was just all-time great to cover. She was fantastic.